Hello and good day, Mike Adcock with an update on severe tropical storm Tapah located to the east of the Mariana Islands. This briefing is based on the 9 Zulu Japan Meteorological Agency advisory from the 29th of April. Taking a look at the satellite imagery, we do see deepening convection with Tapah. Starting to see a little bit of an eye there forming up over the center. Right now Tapah is dealing with a little bit of shear, actually about moderate, 15 to 20 knots worth. And you do see quite a bit of that poleward outflow indicated here in this with this cirrus clouds. That's associated with this stationary boundary that's draped off to the north. Taking a look at the 9 Zulu data from JMA. This is as of 7 p.m. local time. Center of circulation was about 180 kilometers east-southeast of Almagan, or 250 kilometers to the northeast of Saipan. It is moving to the north at 13 kilometers per hour. Winds right now per JMA at 110 kilometers per hour with gusts up to 155. That's actually relatively close to what JTWC and the National Weather Service is going with. Pressure right now at 980 hectopascal. Taking a look at Dvorak, all the agencies are starting to get a little bit closer in line, but there are still some discrepancies. Right now, JMA, their data T is a little bit lower, 3.5, a little bit lower than I believe it is. They kept it with a 4.0, which keeps it just shy of typhoon status based on the pattern. JTWC, this is kind of interesting here. I overlaid the log 10 spiral. In JTWC's bulletin, they reference that they arrived to their Dvorak or their final T based off of an embedded center, but then reference the log 10 wrap. So it's kind of interesting there. Nonetheless, they observed a 1.2 or a 12/10 wrap on this log 10. That's basically counting these little sectors around the center of circulation, and that yields a data T of 4.0, which is just at typhoon status using the 1 minute average that the US uses. I honestly agree with NESDIS analyses. They did use the embedded center. Based on that, you do have this light gray area that wraps around, meets the criteria. That gives you a data T of 4.5, which is a little bit stronger, about 77 knots or 143 kilometers per hour. I feel this is probably a more appropriate number. So based on that, looks like that we probably have a typhoon if you convert over from 1 minute to 10 minute that JMA uses. This is probably a typhoon in my opinion across the board. Advanced Dvorak technique a little bit stronger yet at 4.7. That would shake out to about 82 knots. Alright, so looking at the satellite loop across the Western Pacific, you do see Tapah there off to the east of the Marianas. Here is our stationary boundary that we've been tracking. That's helping to erode the subtropical ridge enough to allow the storm to move northward. Now, as this boundary starts to weaken, the subtropical ridge and a large area of high pressure off to the north, that's going to help push this system off to the west. So you're going to see some near-term northwesterly movement. That's going to increase the threat for the northern Mariana Islands. That's going to be relatively short-lived, though, as this approaching trough or front starts to make its way eastward. That's going to again re-erode the subtropical ridge and help kick off Tapah to the northeast as it weakens. And here's the surface analysis from JMA, kind of detailing what I just mentioned. You're not seeing that stationary boundary. It's starting to really fall apart, but there's that area of high pressure that's moving eastward, and in its wake is this frontal boundary that will help kick off Tapah in the toward the end of the week. And that's reflected here on the JMA forecast. Again, near-term northwesterly movement, and then a shift to the north and the northeast as we approach the end of the week. JMA right now not anticipating any further development. We're going to continue to monitor that. May see some near-term development, but should start to weaken by this time tomorrow, back to where we are. JTWC and Guam's National Weather Service out of Guam, right now, they are observing this as a typhoon with 75 mile per hour winds. again, some near-term north and northwesterly movement before it recurves back off to the northeast. That's going to become a threat again to the northern Mariana Islands. Right now, Alamagan and Pagan, you are in a tropical storm warning as well as a typhoon watch. Right now, the typhoon force winds are forecast to remain off to the east, but any shift in the track can bring those winds a little bit closer to the islands. So something that we're going to definitely keep an eye on over the next 12 to 24 hours. And here is the JTWC forecast that it was based off of. Again, near-term intensification is possible due to the favorable conditions out there, but that's going to close in about 6 to 12 hours. And then you're going to start to see the influence of that trough. That's going to increase wind shear. You're going to lose that outflow. And honestly, you're starting to get enough in latitude where water temperatures are going to start to cool off. And just interaction with the westerly, so this system is going to start to weaken as we approach the remainder of the week. Looking across the rest of the agencies in the Western Pacific, everybody's pretty much in line. You're not seeing a whole lot of deviations in the track. Everybody's pretty much on point, either an upper end severe tropical storm or just meeting the threshold for typhoon force winds. And that matches up very well with the model data that's available. Again, northern Mariana Islands are under the threat of this system, and then it should start to recurve off to the northeast. Intensification window is very narrow. If it's going to happen, it's going to be in the near term and then start to weaken thereafter, just as the atmospheric conditions start to fall apart in terms of development. Here's a little loop of the GFS output. Again, most of this activity is off to the east side of the system. So, anticipating some showers to roll through the Marianas as well as Guam. But by and large, the main effects are going to stay off to the east. Again, the threat really is going to be for Alamagan and Pagan. But, it's really going to be dependent on the track forecast. If it shifts a little bit further west, the threat increases. If it stays more easterly, or the forward motion right now continues northerly, then the threat really starts to decrease. Not much to talk about in terms of our surface weather plots out there. Just some upper level cirrus affecting the southern islands as well as Guam. So really not much to talk about here. Of course, keep it tuned over at westernpacificweather.com. We're going to continue to monitor the progress of this system, especially as we have a tropical storm warning and a typhoon watch out. You could also follow along on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And you can join in on the conversation at storm2k.org. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day and take care.